Check out the story we got from the Philadelphia Inquirer. This story is a level of deranged. Nothing, I'm going to read the quote. This is the title. Nothing is more important than Team Trump's January PowerPoint urging a full-blown coup. The scariest part about Trump's coup plot, including a Banana Republic-style national emergency, is that the conspiracy is still happening. Is it? The Philadelphia Inquirer, a mainstream publication, is outright telling the people of this country, namely of Philadelphia, but also the country, that there is a current, ongoing Donald Trump conspiracy to take over the country. Now, what do you think that's going to do to someone's mind? You got the New York Times saying the white supremacists are coming for you. They're gonna target especially liberal women. It's almost like they're trying themselves to target liberal women with fear to make them lose their minds.
Yep.
And I'll tell you something interesting too. Suburban women in Virginia voted for Youngkin. They voted Republican. Clearly, suburban women do not like Donald Trump. Now you have the Philadelphia Inquirer saying the conspiracy with Trump is still happening. It's a full-blown military coup, and here's the proof. These people live in a very twisted version. It's like a bizarro world.
Clicks.
But if they do, won't that make them...
So here's my theory. There are people who are finally over COVID. They're done with the fear factor of it. So what do you get in place of it? Civil war, coup, Trump takeover of the country.
I disagree, man. I partly agree. I think there's a craving for like the media is like, what can we pump up? Mm-hmm. But back in 2018, I said, if what we're seeing with the street fighting across the country popping up all over the place continues, then I think we are heading towards some kind of civil war. I don't know exactly how that will manifest, but people make the mistake of believing it's going to be a Mason-Dixon line and then the state's going like that. It could be something crazy. I don't know. Then in 2019, we saw, more signs of it. It was back in 2018, these articles popped up. And then I started talking to people and they were like, you're crazy. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. I would have conservatives in DC tell me that. And I'm like, what makes you think it couldn't happen? Like, why do you have that optimism bias? It'll never happen here. And the response I got was, what's happening with Antifa and Proud Boys and right-wing groups and stuff is a bunch of low-level, bored losers fighting in the streets, and it will never reach the point at the seat of government. It will never be in the federal government, and the security state will shut it down. Now we have, political fighting between, the progressive wing and the populist right wing in Congress. Threats of arrest against some of them. Nancy Pelosi saying some of them should be investigated.
How many of them do you think are feds?
Of which ones?
All of them.
Yeah, maybe a lot.
But of our congressmen? You think they went undercover and ran for office?
No, I mean like Antifa, Proud Boys.
Yeah,
I mean, just like how many?
Ton of them. But so, which is interesting. But the point that was brought up to me was the federal government will never allow it to happen. And I'm like, what happens when this conflict reaches the federal government? If the millennial generation and younger is divided to an extreme degree, and they are taking these seats of power, in 10, 20 years, millennials are going to be the majority, like 80, 90% of Congress. And that culture war is going to be in Congress. It's going to be in the president. It's going to be in the Senate.
God.
Yeah, right?
Well, Congress will be insufferable then.
I mean, it's not insufferable now.
You get BuzzFeed listicles. This is what this congressman did.
Yeah, but like, if these people who genuinely believe this stuff are in that seat of power, then the culture war does reach the government, and then what happens?
They get stripped of their power.
By who?
Well, no, I
think an angry mob.
I think the culture war already reached the federal government through Trump because he was very much leading the charge in that culture war. I mean, as soon as you had Colin Kaepernick kneel during the national anthem, Trump took that as an issue, and boom, as soon as he said something about it in, I think, 2018, then all of a sudden, it never left.
You're right. The culture war reaching the federal government was the 2015 election cycle. Before that, we had, Mitt Romney, Barack Obama in 2012, and it was very stodgy, boring establishment politics.
Yeah.
But in 2015, the culture war reached a point where people were voting on this. And it was the establishment versus the cultural independence, the Trump people, the populists.
The world.
Well, so it used to be politics was a bunch of stodgy, boring, the lesser of two evils. But then Trump comes along and he's like, a bull going to storm through and smash everything up. all of a sudden now the seat of the federal government was a culture war issue.
Yeah.
Now it's 2020. We're entering 2022. How crazy is that?
We got to call Trump the rhino in the China shop because he's a rhino.
In the sense,
He's a liberal guy, ran in the Republic. He's a rhino.
Right.
Republican.
I mean, he's not really a Republican.
Exactly.
No.
No.
So
I mean, he's not a true
Call him the
Republican.
bull. I want to call him the rhino.
Trump
in
is
the China
Trump. Is
shop
Trump.
for
I
now.
mean, hey,
So here's what I will
just so
say.
happen to be Republican.
Yeah, this
Or
time.
had R next to his name.
We had I think it was Ryan Long was here, and
Oh, I love Ryan.
he's great.
The Habibis hate him though.
they don't like him.
Really?
He got me. He threw a hard question at me right when we started the show. He was like, so Tim, the last time I was here, you said a civil war is coming. You got me all freaked out. And then what's going on? And then I went, on January 6th, about 800 people stormed into the Capitol building to try and shut down the electoral. And he went, oh, yeah. And I'm like, so I had all these people telling me that nothing was going to happen. We weren't getting close to a civil war. Now, these establishment liberal types, when they say it to me, I just do the same thing. They go, where's civil war, Tim? On January 6th, 800 Trump supporters stormed into the Capitol. Like, I don't know. Is that enough for you? I don't think it was as bad as they say it was.
Yeah.
For them, is it? And they're like, oh, yeah. And now they're saying the coup is still happening.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, it's almost like they just want to be right every single time, or they don't want to give you a credit. I mean, look,
Or I think maybe the reality is, like, how does this train stop? Do the Trump supporters who are sitting in the prisons right now in the solitary confinement, do they get released and then walk up to a Biden supporter and just cry and then hug and say, it's America, damn it, and like, we don't want this anymore? Or do they say, I was tortured by his administration, by his DOJ, and then does this result in people saying the system is corrupt? And the left is saying, but they're insurrectionists who should be.
Honestly, I think a lot of it is even happening now over a lot of these COVID restrictions, vaccine mandates, mask mandates. There's some strange bedfellows kind of working together on the left and right who oppose a lot of these restrictions. And honestly, that might not be enough to heal the country, but it's brought some people together.
I mean, we've seen Black Lives Matter marching with right-wing groups in New York, saying opposing the vax mandates. But is it possible that actually is just part of further decay of the system?
I mean, you don't have friends or enemies. You have common interests in politics. That's just how it's always been. And so, I mean, they have common goals, and once they say accomplish that goal, then they'll go back to fighting each other. So maybe that's the normal we're going back to.
I think if I try to look at this optimistically, like it's not going to get that bad because something will divert attention and the factions will shift again before it gets too bad. It kind of just feels like, the swing is getting too far left, too far right. And then eventually the swing is too much and the tower topples over. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like right now it's shaking. We got a bad earthquake, but not enough to knock the structure of the United States down. But if it keeps happening and the swings get more and more extreme, then eventually the whole thing's going to just implode on itself.
Well, the conditions that are creating the hyperbolic, political moments, they're only increasing in their power and influence. If you look at big tech, it's only becoming more influential in our lives. If you look at the corporate media, it's being force-fed on us even more. Those are the two biggest contributors. Those are the gasoline on the fire of this quiet, cold civil war that some people say is happening right now. And those two institutions are not going away. They're only becoming more powerful. And I think it's in their interest to have people fighting each other because they also represent a lot of very powerful people. And those powerful people don't want them looking up and recognizing that the true source of their problems is the multinational corporations, is the billionaire class that is able to buy off government, buy off big tech, social media. And it is them fighting each other based off trivial differences, based off their DNA, their preferences. And if they can have people fighting with the pitchforks against the torches, when they have those two people going against each other, no one's focusing on any of the legitimate problems that is directly affecting their lives and how they live in this existence.
But that just means that eventually the system crumbles and the elites escape with as much resources
Exactly.
as possible.
I mean, the elites already have accumulated so much resources, so much money, but the elites never historically understand when enough is enough. If you look at every time a country was robbed of its wealth, if you look at all the hyperinflation cases, whether it's Weimar Germany, whether it's Argentina, whether it's Zimbabwe, whether it's Venezuela, it's always people saying, this is for me, I don't care about anyone else. The rats are leaving here. Let's plunder what we can. That has always happened through recorded human history, especially when you have a government willing to increase the debt ceiling, increase the money printing, increase government programs that stand in the way of free economic flow of income and money and capital. So this is only going to get worse because of the financial ramifications, which I think are critical here, because that's going to be the other kind of match. You have the fuel by the corporate media, the fuel by the social media, but the match, I think, is going to be the financial larger ramifications.
Thanks for checking out this segment from the Timcast IRL podcast. If you want to watch live, you can check out this channel Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Now, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, and if you want more unfiltered and uncensored content with all of these guests, go to timcast.com and become a member. All of these guests you know and love in exclusive segments on our website where we are unrestricted in what we talk about, so you'll definitely not want to miss it. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you all next time.